Good morning, Williston. Good morning. First, I want to give a heartfelt welcome to all the families and friends and guests of our inductees today, and to thank them for making the effort to get up here on a relatively cold East Hampton day, not as bad as some of the ones we've had. And second, I just want to point out that this is what we're all about here at Williston, this coming together as a community, as we do so often in this space, to observe and watch and see the talent that's arrayed out there. And today, our celebration of the talent and achievements of our most outstanding students is why we're gathered here. And as we've done for athletic ceremonies or music ceremonies or what have you, I'm always so impressed by what I see and what I know to be the passion and the talents that are represented by each of you out here today. So without further ado, we'll begin today's Cum Laude induction ceremony with Mr. Gunn.
I'm stalling. Good morning. If I'm stalling, you have to help me. We gather this morning to honor 14 seniors and 2 faculty members who we will induct into the Cum Laude Society. We celebrate their academic accomplishment, and in so doing, we celebrate the fundamental mission of the Williston Northampton School. The Cum Laude Society is a national honor society modeled on Phi Beta Kappa. Williston Academy joined the society in 1921. The Northampton School for Girls received its charter in 1951, and in 1971, the society granted the merged Williston Northampton School a new charter. Membership in the Cum Laude Society is the highest academic award that the Williston Northampton faculty can bestow. While only a few of you will be so recognized today, all of us gathered here can take inspiration from the 3 words that form the motto of Cum Laude: arete, meaning excellence, dike, meaning justice, and time, meaning honor. Excellence, justice, and honor can characterize the life each of us chooses to lead. It can and should inspire the academic and intellectual culture we embrace here, not just in the classroom, but across our campus and the broader community. On behalf of the faculty, I thank the inductees for striving to live that life. As we nurture your curiosity, persistence in the search for truth, beauty, and justice, you have taught us much about language and art, about math and science, about history and philosophy and faith, and above all, about a love of learning. Moreover, we want to thank your families. We hope that they will enjoy today as a reflection of their influence upon your lives. I remind you to thank all of those who've helped you to grow your roots and your wings. We live in uncertain times, but you remind us that learning remains a fundamentally progressive, optimistic, and democratic enterprise. Each year, the Williston Northampton School community witnesses what can be accomplished by a wonderful mixture of human potential and hard work, and we catch a glimpse of a brighter future. So as we acknowledge your past effort and present accomplishment, you fill us with the hope with hope for a future full of achievement. May you embrace the opportunity to improve an ever-changing world. As I call your name, I would ask that you please come forward to receive your membership pin and certificate from President Peter Verleen and Vice President Greg Talea. Lena Gandavia. Margaret Maisie Glick. Emily Grussing. Cameron Hill. Emma Kasla. Umi Keesing. Kim Dong-ho Ray Kim. Caitlin Murray. Emily Parent. Where's the shoes? That's what Estonia has to get the great candid photo. Feet coming up in the air. Come on over to this side. Yep. Just gonna have to continue to squeeze in here. Lauren Poe. Okay, now we're going to do Mackenzie Posse. One member who we are electing today cannot be here, is not on campus, but I'd like to give a round of applause for Matthew Steinberg. Cade Zawaki. Zhang Yiting Tina Zhang. We now ask that two of your inspiring teachers come forward to join you. We ask that they come forward individually. Fine arts teacher, Mr. Ben Demarath. And English teacher, Miss Lynn McGovern. Stay. We'll now turn the ceremony over to Mr. Peter Levine, President of the Williston Chapter of the Cum Laude Society, for your formal induction.
Thank you, Mr. Gunn. I'm my privilege now to give the charge. So here we go. Your exemplary record in academics and citizenship has earned for you membership in the Cum Laude Society. This society is a fellowship of scholars whose purpose is to recognize excellence in academic work. It is our sincere hope that you will accept the honor of membership as a responsibility to strive for similar excellence in all future endeavors, and, along the way, to contribute to finding solutions to some of the major challenges facing your generation. On behalf of the faculty, I want to thank you for your consistently strong efforts. As you have pursued your goals, you have inspired your classmates and teachers, just as you have been inspired by the creativity, hard work, and talents demonstrated by them. So by the authority duly granted me, it is with great pride and pleasure that I welcome you into the Williston Northampton chapter of the Cum Laude Society. Congratulations. You can take your seats.
Mark Franzik graduated from the Williston Northampton School in 2000. As a day student at Williston, Mark was an active member of the community, involved in everything from the Williston Theater, and I hear he had an amazing version of Alice in Wonderland, the Teller Chorus, the Caterwallers, the Willistonian, and he was part of the school's swim team. Following Williston, he went on to graduate from Columbia University in New York City in 2004 with a degree in economics and philosophy. Mark spent a decade working as a banker with the financial powerhouse J.P. Morgan. After taking a job as an internal consultant, he quickly rose to assistant vice president in the company's treasury and securities services, and then worked as an analyst in the investment banking division. While Mark was involved in what he described as, quote, a multitude of M&A and capital-raising transactions, including the largest U.S. equity deal in history, he also decided that the banking industry was not a good fit. In his words, he began to, quote, more aggressively pursue, end quote, his interests in the culinary world, interests that had always been simmering during his time as a banker. You like that pun? Yeah. By 2014, Mark had enrolled in culinary school, started a food blog. If you want to know what that is, it's www.outsideofthebreadbox.com, and began interning in some of the top kitchens in the country. When I asked some of Mark's friends, who shall be nameless, about him, they said he knows all the lyrics to Rent by heart, not to mention most other musicals, and apparently he let his younger sister, who's here today, and her friend, who also joins us this morning, sit with him and his friends every night at dinner in the Birch Dining Commons. Apparently that is still much appreciated by Mark. Mark joins us this morning from New York City, where he now works as a pastry cook for the Alta Maria Group, Chef Michael White's Michelin star-winning group of restaurants, which include Maria, Fiore, Ostiera Marini, it sounds like I know these, and Costata. Thank you for giving me a warm Williston welcome to Mark Franzik for his address.
Perfect, thank you. How's everybody doing? Good? So just help me out here, just lay of the land. Seniors, where are you guys sitting? Seniors? Okay. Juniors? Kind of mixed. Sophomores? Well, and then freshmen up there, a little mixed up. There we go. Okay. So not much has changed. Okay. So show of hands, who loves cooking or just like even a good meal, good steak, good cake? Okay. And who loves banking? Okay, so looks like my work here is done, basically, nothing to talk about. That's a pretty clear response. So why did it take me 10 years to determine that I should be working as a chef and not as an investment banker? I like to think of myself as decently intelligent. I mean, after all, 15 years ago, I was sitting in these seats having just been inducted, half listening to the speaker, or I actually don't even know if there was a speaker. I don't remember at all. I remember that I had a dress shirt on that was extremely uncomfortable, and that's actually the only thing I remember from that day. But before I dive in, let me just say sincerely congratulations to all the inductees today. The hard work that brought you to this point is truly impressive. I can say with complete candor that my time at Williston was probably the most rigorous academically and otherwise that I had throughout my entire academic career. So, in some ways, maybe it's all downhill from here. The hard part's over, just relax. Well, unfortunately, not quite. When you leave Williston, the historical facts, the mathematical formulas, the verb conjugations, they'll slowly begin to fade or very quickly fall out of your memory. But I know Williston students. You're highly motivated. You're all high achievers. All of you, not just the ones being inducted today. I know that there are even probably some who have worked even harder through their 4 years at the time of the school. And the athletes, the artists, everybody's excelling in their own field, from the seniors up to the freshmen. And freshmen, can you guys hear me? Yeah, you're good up there? I was actually realizing that when I was inducted, you guys weren't even born, which that made me throw up in my mouth a little bit. So it's just a little scary. But it's because of that high achievement drive that I think that my story is kind of a good cautionary tale. And the fact is that it's actually so important that I'm going to take a little cue here from a chef that I've worked with. Do you guys know Jacques Torres by chance? Have you heard that name? He's kind of like a modern Willy Wonka. He's very prominent. Does chocolate shops and everything. But I did a class with him, and he takes eggs. And basically, if he sees somebody who's not paying attention, he throws an egg at them. And nothing quite like the threat of having an egg fly at your face if you're not paying attention keeps you engaged. So just so you know, I've got 3. So keep track as we go through here. So you've already heard my high-level bio. You got most of the color. It probably sounds a little obnoxious, but I'll just go through it again here. I was Williston, 2000, 4 years as a day student. Like most of you, I was the quintessential over-programmed Williston student. There's Cum Laude, Arate, Willistonian, swim team, theater, teller chorus, caterwaulers, yada, yada, yada. I certainly was not the best or the brightest in my class, but I was always obsessed with the idea of being a high performer. So much so that I would obsess about every point on every test. I would actually, during the course of some of my tests, calculate okay, I'm pretty sure I've got about an 85 right now. Maybe with 10% more probability, I'm at a 90, and that's the kind of stuff I would do in my head. I would also hope that at the beginning of class that you'd assign the homework assignment so that I could try to get it done before the end of class. That's the kind of stuff. And I know that probably there's some of you guys who play the same games. Things don't really change that much. I shared most of those characteristics with my other cum laude peers, most of whom have gone on to do great things, most of whom are still being treated for anxiety disorders as a result. But I was accepted into Columbia, early decision, and this theater kid went to New York thinking that he'd major in English or something in the arts, but kind of those practical realities set in, and I felt, okay, English majors become English teachers, art majors become baristas, and basically theater majors are jealous of baristas. So I quickly decided, maybe I needed a more practical game plan. So I decided to major in economics. I didn't hate it. I was decent at it. It seemed like a good step towards a high-powered and lucrative career. So maybe that was mistake number 1. I made Dean's List every semester, although I struggled to recall much, if anything, from my actual classes. I had basically perfected, beginning at my time at Williston and all through college, learning for the grade. So call that mistake number 2. And like many of my Columbia peers, kind of a lack of creativity and a desire to be in the power game had me pursuing a career in investment banking, which by the fall of my senior year, I had locked up a role as an analyst with JP Morgan, so I knew where I was going to be going. So kind of perhaps mistake number 3. And here's where it gets really obnoxious. So when I was at JP Morgan, within 2 years of the firm, I had figured out how to play the game there, became an assistant vice president within 2 years, was working with a lot of the top executive names that are still like on the front cover of the Wall Street Journal, for better or for worse. I would spend the next 8 years working probably 100 plus hours a week in the office, sleeping about 4 hours a night, usually with my BlackBerry on my chest, so that it would buzz when the Asian markets would wake up or the European markets, and so I could be hyper responsive at all points in time. I became a client guy, and I was tasked with convincing companies what they should buy or sell or issue debt or equity, and worked on the biggest equity follow-on deal in US history. So if all of that sounds extremely boring, that's a good thing. I hope that's the case. Because even though I was performing at the top of my game at one of the top firms in the country, I was absolutely miserable doing it. So I had basically permanent bags under my eyes. I had lost about 20 pounds since my time as a student at Williston. Over those 10 years, I actually ended up in the ER on 3 occasions. My crowning achievement in kind of constantly having this drive was waking up one morning at 4 a.m., having passed out on the floor of the office bathroom, hitting my head. I managed to literally crawl my way back to my desk, blacking out once more on the trip back, and finished my work for the afternoon and left about midday. So in summary, I'd say that I spent my 20s basically in a state of constant panic, very much the way I'd functioned at Williston to end up as a cum laude inductee. The satisfaction of completing one deal was always met immediately with the anxiety of having to start the next. So if I'm going to offer kind of one piece of advice, it's take the time to enjoy your successes, very much like we're doing here, because without that, it's completely meaningless. So who wants to be an investment banker? Okay. Well, the crazy thing was exactly how long I was blind to the fact of what I really wanted to do. And the fact of the matter is, most mornings I would come in and the conversation was always a recap about the restaurants I had been at over the course of the weekend. Bankers are big Excel nerds, and I had actually started an Excel spreadsheet where I had been tracking all of the restaurants that I'd been at. I kept all of the receipts with itemized items that I had tried at these different places and had them filed in a filing cabinet. The Food Network logo was actually burned into my plasma TV, so that's a pretty good indication of what was being watched at home. And surprisingly enough, even during my time as an investment banker, I managed to get married. Although I met my husband at Columbia. If I hadn't met him before banking, it probably never would have happened. He also became a banker, so the two of us would basically spend the entire week not seeing one another. And Friday was kind of the sacrosanct date night to go out to a restaurant. So restaurants, good food, getting away from it all, that kind of paired like being calm and being relaxed. So those things became very much joined in my mind. So after a decade, I finally decided to quit. It actually took me 5 attempts to get out. Every time I would be paraded in front of different executives who would try to give me a pep talk and convince me about why I should stay. The truth of the matter is most of their arguments did revolve around money. And I actually had one person who literally said to me, "But you can fix any problem with money." So it was at that point that I was like, I am done. The conversation is now over. So exactly 350 days ago, I left my Park Avenue office for the last time. I had no immediate plans, but the culinary interest was always something that kind of had been burning in the back of my mind. And I never openly admitted it to anyone, though. I was going to just kind of openly explore other options. I started volunteering at a soup kitchen. I did some volunteer income tax preparation for families in Harlem. I started doing more home cooking, started my food blog, basically kind of reconnecting with everything that working 100 hours a week completely just did not allow me to do. A short 2 weeks, though, after quitting is when things really started to get moving. So as a Christmas gift to my parents and admittedly to myself, signed up for a recreational cooking class where we worked with an executive chef from one of the top restaurants in the city. And I had no illusion about the fact of my skills were very rudimentary, but at the end of the session, the chef, in a comment that I'm pretty sure now was a joke, said, if anyone wants to come work in my restaurant, let me know and you can come on in. I decided to jump at the opportunity. I sent him an email that weekend, again, not fully taking the fact that it probably was a joke, and by the next week had lined up a day to work in his restaurant. So that's kind of my other piece of advice, is that never let an opportunity go by, because it's amazing where things can lead. So I ended up working in the restaurant for a day, and it was like being in an episode of Top Chef. It was absolutely crazy, chaotic. Halfway through the day, the chef came up to me and handed me a raw scallop and said, you have 60 minutes to prepare me your best dish, go. I have never been so panicked in my entire life. I ran to the bathroom with my iPhone, hoping to get a signal to look up scallop recipes. Unfortunately, there was no signal, and had to just basically work my way through it. But it was fantastic. After the 14-hour day, I felt like death. It had kicked my butt. I was basically on my back for 2 or 3 days afterwards. But the fact of the matter is, I had absolutely loved it. So I went from kind of 14-hour days in the office to this in 14 hours in a restaurant, doing what I loved. It was amazing. So it was a time to refocus that Williston drive. I knew my weaknesses. I knew I needed some formal training. So I enrolled in a 2-month cooking intensive, and after that, by late summer, I was fully committed to the idea of going to culinary school. So on August 15th, which oddly enough was Julia Child's birthday, I started at the French Culinary Institute for 600 hours of traditional French culinary training. Old habits die hard, so even though I was enrolled in cooking school and was volunteering and had my food blog, that wasn't the Williston way. I still had a few extra hours left over. So I, kind of emboldened by my new skills, I decided to reach out to a number of restaurants to set up trails. And trails are effectively kind of day internships. You go in, the chef can see what you know, what you don't know, how quick you work, how clean you work. Typically, a restaurant's not going to have any interest in a student just starting off, but the fact of the matter is, if there's one skill I picked up from banking, it was being able to talk my way into anything. So I talked my way into a number of places. I worked at Dominic Ansell's bakery. Have you guys heard of the Cronut? Yeah, so he's the inventor of the Cronut. So I got to basically spend a day doing that. Ended up interning at then the Alta Morea group for several days, which is where I have ended up today, and work every morning. Basically, I start the day at 6:30, elbows deep in dough, whereas I used to, spend it on a trading floor. The one thing I do need to point out is that through all of this, I have to highlight the fact that I had tremendous support in what I was doing. So I have to thank that, my husband, my parents, my sister, all of my friends, they had all been calling for me to quit for quite a long time. And I know I can't ask you guys to have support, but what I can ask is that you are supportive to one another as you may pursue non-traditional paths, because it's extremely important. So here I am, a year later. I currently make a fraction of what I did before, or rather a fraction of what I made before. But I no longer wake up dreading the day. I'm no longer finding myself kind of frozen on the trading floor asking, what the hell happened? How did I get to this point? Instead, I look around and I'm in a kitchen surrounded by some of the most inspiring chefs and other people, and I can say, how the hell did I get to this point? This is awesome. So to the 14 inductees here today, and to everyone else, I just want you to take the moment to really sincerely congratulate yourselves in your successes that got you here today. But as you look to the future, realize that you have a tremendous number of opportunities and options open to you. Just because it's not one of the familiar paths doesn't mean that it's the wrong one. Don't need to be a doctor, don't need to be a lawyer, don't need to be a banker. Just because it's the non-traditional choice doesn't mean it's the wrong choice. My pick now would be to take a good look at where everyone else is running and go the opposite direction. Because the fact of the matter is, you'll probably be much happier in the end, and on the journey you'll have a lot more leg room. It's a lot easier. So congrats everyone, and with that, best of luck in your future endeavors. Anyone want an egg? Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
I promise it has nothing to do with your kitchen. Mark, that was fantastic. You know, I'm always thinking when I listen to speakers when they come back, especially alumni who can channel their experience here into the world that they've been living. And at the sake of getting mocked for my punning, like the simmering pun, it occurs to me that you went from being a Wolf of Wall Street to a Wolfgang Puck of Soho. Just try that one out. Thanks, you guys. Thanks. I knew Emmett would like that. So the message I get is love what you do, and it has nothing to do with how many hours you're spending at your job or what it is what you're pursuing, because if you love it, it seems to go effortlessly, and clearly you jumped from the fires of Wall Street into the frying pans, but you now love what you do. It's evident to all, and since you've been at Williston, the words that we use for that are, if you pursue your passion with purpose and you never lose sight of integrity, it all goes really, really well. So you reinforced that today, Mark, and I really, really appreciate that. Thank you. So now I'd like to welcome inductees and families and friends who are here with them, and teachers who don't have to teach next period to stroll on over to our house for a reception. Thanks very much.